completed my graduation in mechanical engineering, started an entrepreneurial venture as a consultant, ozone depleting substance, maintain transparency. Transparency is the key word or the key thing that we have to follow when we have to handle the knowledge sharing is the most important criteria in today's world.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I'm Sunny Pancholi, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. We have one such industry leader on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Mr. Koushik Basu. He is a highly accomplished leader, renowned for his ability to achieve desired outcomes. With a career marked by dynamic leadership and a commitment to operational excellence, he has demonstrated proficiency in areas such as general administration, business development, project management, manufacturing, and operations management. His leadership has been instrumental in driving performance management initiatives and formulating strategies to achieve long-term business growth. Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, Mr. Basu.
Good morning, and a very well said introduction about me. So I would be gratitude for this introduction. Thank you.
So, Mr. Basu, to begin with, could you let our viewers know in brief about your career journey so far?
Yes, I'll speak about my career journey starting from post-college days. Once I completed my graduation in mechanical engineering, I got into a company called Aircon Limited. They are the major in air conditioning, and it's a part of the United Technologies Corporation, USA. So I worked in that company as a sales person for the projects. So since I was handling the projects and with the sales, I found that there are a lot of engineering involved, which actually attracted me to a lot of engineering jobs, which I can correlate with my studies and the college days. So after working there for a couple of years, I thought that I would get more into the engineering part rather than the sales. So I switched to a company called BOC India Limited, which is a world leader in industrial gases. So I worked with the BOC for about 18 years. To start with, I started from a very grassroots level. I started with the plant operations where I had to work in shift. So I understood how the whole process works, the engineering part, the managing the shift in a very flexible timing, because I had to do 3 shifts, morning, evening, and night. So I had to adjust my bodies. I had to adjust my biological cycle accordingly. So after a couple of years working in the shift, I was seconded to a different role, which is logistics. So I started handling logistics. I worked in logistics for a couple of years. And that was the time when BOC was going through a transformation and they were implementing SAP. So I was nominated for doing the functional job for SAP. So it was a it was a fun doing, because there are a lot of different job responsibilities I had to do in a span of 6 to 7 years. So after the SAP implementation was over, I was given a position which was a big jump for my career. I actually was nominated for heading one plant of BOC India Limited, which was located in Tarapur, near Mumbai. So that plant, once I was into that job, I found that my engineering job has reduced to almost 30%, and rest of the job was more on general management, the procurement, the logistics, the safety, and housekeeping. There are a lot of other things which are involved in that. But that was a very, very good learning experience for me, because I got to learn a lot of new things which is required when a man or a person rather would grow in the corporate ladder. He needs to know a lot of other things apart from his core subject. So that exposure actually helped me a lot in future, which I'll talk in due course. So after 3 years of my stint, I moved to a even bigger role, where I was heading west and north of India. So, and I was given 9 plants. So the similar job of 9 plant, it was even more challenging, but it was great fun, because the once the circle increases, once the whole process increases, it was the challenge also increases. So obviously the it was a big job for me, and I started learning a lot of new things, uh, delivering things in that role. So after a couple of years or so, I was given additional responsibility of project management, where all the projects which were coming up in my region uh, were to be overseen by me along with the project manager. So because these projects, normally what happens once they are commercialized, they are handed over to the operation. So from the operations point of view, what all should be the aspects of the project that I had to monitor. So it started off like that. Then within 1 year or so, I was given another role, which is part of the business development team, where I had to give my input from the operations point of view, the project execution point of view, what all other things which I have to give input to. So that was even more difficult thing. So that was the time when, apart from my old responsibilities of operations and other things, I was given. So obviously, at some point of time, the workload was increasing too much. So that was the time when my management, my bosses, they thought that there's too much of load on me. And in addition, one more region was added to me, which is in the east, which is in the east, one region, which is Rourkela. So that region also added. So with 3 regions and a lot of other activities, so some of the jobs were actually dismantled from me, and I was focusing mainly on the business development and project execution part. So that is how the entire span of 18 years passed. And then I thought that this is the time that, and by that time I reached the position of assistant vice president in that organization. So once I was in that position, I found that I'll make a switch. So I made a switch and moved to Taiyo Nippon Sanso, which is a Japanese company. So Linde, BOC India, or later it was known that because after a merger, it was called Linde. So BOC was purely a British company. And when once Linde was taken over, it became a German company. So having worked in British and German standards, I found that it would be even more challenging to move to a Japanese culture, because Japanese are, sorry, are well renowned for their discipline and the job processes. So I moved to Taiyo Nippon Sanso. There I worked as vice president projects and operations. And apart from that, there are a lot of corporate governance jobs were also given to me, which was not in as a part of the designation, but they were part. So apart from streamlining the operation, that company was relatively a new company in India. So I had to do a streamlining of operations process, the operations organizations, the project organizations. And apart from that, I was given responsibility of procurement. I was given responsibility for uh, cost center management. So these are the things which I was doing. And later, a couple of years, I was involved, or rather, I was heading a job of merger and acquisition as well. So I got a lot of exposure working in that company. And finally, I had a lot of portfolios handling at that point of time. So, and once that merger and acquisition took place, obviously comes following is the change management. So change management is a very important thing when once there's a change in the uh, organizational setup. So that change management is more important. So, and apart from this general management and other things. So I also worked in Linde or BOC, section called People's Management or People Development Team. So that I will talk in due course when we come to the other areas to discuss. So that is how I position myself. In at the end of 2022, I decided to go for a bigger role. So I started an entrepreneurial venture as a consultant. And along with that, I thought of pursuing the course on and this the independent directorship, so that I can look at it from a different perspective. Apart from the execution level, I can be on the leadership role and having a more helicopter view from the top about the entire organization. Yeah, I think that was all for what I have worked on for the last first 28 years of my career.
Mr. Basu, thank you for the excellent start to this interview. And I must say, your career journey is truly inspiring.
Yeah, thank you.
So, continuing our conversation, you have transitioned through various significant roles over your career.
Yeah.
So, can you describe what drove these transitions and how have you adapted to such diverse functions?
Yes, that is a very interesting question. Now, thing is that the first thing is that, as I told you, that I started off with in sales. So sales was one of the areas which I worked in. Then my keenness was more on engineering. Now, after doing engineering for some time, I found that there are a lot of other areas which also I need to learn to grow in the corporate ladder. So, or to become a leader in that sense. So the most important thing is that I should learn. I should learn new things. At least one new thing I should learn in 1 month. So learning is the most important criteria to grow in the organization. Once I learn, I can keep my interest in the job. So once the interest in the job persists, then the growth, then the learning, everything goes on. So that was the most important thing which actually inspired me that I should learn new things. And because of that, I started learning a lot of diverse things, and I approached my organizations at that point of time and showed my interest to learn new things. And the best part is that they responded in a positive way. They said that, okay, fine. If you are interested or in learning new things, go ahead and learn. So that learning process actually has created a lot of interest in my job. As I learned new things, the initial phase was the learning. And after some times of learning, it happens that I wanted to implement that or execute that. So once I execute it, there are a lot of bookish knowledge for implementation. There's a process. Now each person looks at it in his own perspective within that framework. So that way I learned a lot of new things. And in implementation also, I wanted to implement it in a better way. And once I started implementing and getting good results, that actually inspired me to even learn newer areas. So that is what exactly is the reason why I had a very diverse role in my entire career. And in fact, apart from hardcore finance, which we call the accounting or the P&L, apart from that, I have worked in almost all the areas in our organization. That was a plus point, which actually has been uh, it has been started from the whole process that I should learn new things, and that learning new things kept on increasing the interest in my job as well as in the implementation. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, Mr. Basu. So you have been honored with some accolades.
Yeah.
Which of them do you cherish the most and why?
Yeah, the accolades, there are a lot of accolades which I have got in my entire career. The highlighting part is that which has got a bigger impact is that, where in 1987 rather, there was a United Nations protocol which was implemented in Montreal, that is to reduce the uh, ozone depleting substance, which is basically the halogen chlorides and other things. So, which is the reason there was a huge impact in the weather, huge impact in the environment. So that was one of the most important thing, that reducing the uh, ozone depleting substance. That was a project which was handed over to me to reduce. So, and there are certain implementation of that actually was using the substitutes. The plants, they are very big plants and they are designed with that particular ozone depleting substance as one of the medium. But replacing that was also, I worked with a lot of vendors. We developed the vendor. We made a change in the medium, and that after that we made a pilot site where we can implement that, and with a good result. That was actually implemented across the organization throughout the country. So that was a huge achievement which I got. And apart from that, connecting to that, there are a lot of other areas like environment protection jobs which I have been doing, the tree plantation, afforestation. So there was a target which I took at one point of time, that I would plant about 1,000 trees in a month. So that itself is a big ask, because 1,000 trees apart from my normal work. So it was an additional, but it gave me a lot of pleasure, a lot of fun in doing that. So because I could contribute to the bigger section, and those are the main accolades I can say. And apart from that, there was a area which actually was very close to my heart, is people development. I have to develop a lot of people, because it is, as I grow, there should be somebody following me. So succession planning is the most important thing in the organization chart, because if I grow, if somebody does not take over behind me, it becomes that the entire role is given to me and I have to handle. Gradually over the period of time, it happens that I take up all the job and I'm overburdened. And there are people who have not stepped into those positions because they are not prepared for that. So people development, and in this process, I have developed almost 9 people who are, apart from others, there are 9 people who are now well positioned in big organizations, and and most of them are heading the plants. Some are directors, some are regional heads. So these 9 people I can talk of that they have grown to a very good level, and they have at least at that point of time took up my position behind me, so that they have grown at like what the way I have mentored them. Yes.
That sounds incredible, Mr. Basu. So, building on to that, you have a well acclaimed background in achieving compliance across frameworks.
Yes.
So, what strategies do you find most effective for maintaining compliance in such a dynamic regulatory environment?
It's very easy. It is that we have to maintain transparency. Transparency is the key word or the key thing that we have to follow when we have to handle the regulatory, because the regulations, they keep on changing. Along with that, we have to comply, the organization, the people. And in an organization, there are, you can say, to run an organization, there are 3 major segments. One is the regulatory body, the second is the management team, and third is the people in the organization. Now, once I have the transparency, because the regulations, what they are doing, they should be transparently transpired to the management team, and management team should be equally transparent to percolate it to the down the line, among the people, so that the culture, the most important thing is that the culture for transparency has to be developed, and the responsibility of developing that culture lies with the management team. They are the leaders, so they have to develop that culture, that you should not hide anything, because there is no harm in not knowing something, because one man, there are 8 billion people in the universe. Everybody cannot know everything. So obviously each person has his own strengths and weaknesses. But the thing is that if there is a problem, we should discuss that problem, we should highlight that problem, and there has to be some solution coming out of it. Now, once the transparency exists between the regulatory body, the management, and the people, things become much easier. So once if there is any problem in implementation, that we can again highlight back to the management or to the regulatory body, that this is what the problem that we are facing. These are the challenges that are there in implementation. So how do we go? And in fact, I have in my career, I have seen that when people get back to the regulatory bodies with some problem about this implementation of their compliances, they are more than happy to solve it. In fact, they in fact take it in their parlance, in their circle, that yes, this is a genuine problem, that this needs to be addressed, and a viable solution has to come out. So this is how actually I have seen. So unless I maintain transparency among the people, it is very difficult to, because the regulations change very frequently, and that change has to be properly understood, and along with that, it has to be implemented. Yeah.
Okay. So, Mr. Basu, as an ESG and corporate governance expert, what values do you bring to the table?
Look, since I have worked in a lot of functions, I had exposure of a lot of new things. So, and whenever there was new things, my curiosity, my eagerness, my keenness to learn things become more. So, from the point of view that, what we talk about is the industry. There's a lot. I'm open for any industry that I work, because, the basic differentiating factor for industry to industry is the product. The basic remains same. The engineering doesn't change. The HR function doesn't change. The finance doesn't change. So the project execution, the project management, the operation management, they are more or less same. only change that we see from industry to industry is the product. So at my level, whatever be the product, if the basics, I have to target the basic. You have to see that the basic is right. Once the basic is right, rest of the thing will follow the course. So my area of I have worked in various environmental areas, like I talked about that freon depletion, sorry, the ozone depleting substances. I worked in afforestation. Similarly, for the social part, like I have worked in the people management and governance. This is something which a leader has to develop over his experience, like operations management. This is one part of governance. This project management is another part of governance. So there has to be a proper discipline. There has to be a proper process which has to be followed. Now, once I follow those processes, I mean, working in any industry, whether in a executive role or a non-executive role, doesn't make much of a difference. I think as per that is what my understanding is, because, if it is an executive role, I can get into the things in more deeper section. And on non-executive role, it becomes more of a guidelines that I do, and monitoring what the implementation is proper or not. So these are the only difference that I can see from the perspective of the directorship role or at the executive and non-executive level. Other than that, I think so for the industry is concerned, I don't find it's a big concern for any role.
Okay. So moving ahead, let's discuss technology and its impact on your professional landscape. So here is my question to you. In your nearly 3-decade-long career, what are some changes you have seen with technologies replacing legacy systems? That is part A. And what changes do you expect to see with the advent of IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, big data, digital twin, Web 3.0, etc.?
Yes, let me start with a very old thing. My generation has seen a lot of changes. So for technology is concerned, when I was a kid, maybe 5, 6 years old, I saw there was a radio in my house, which was this big. So, and that radio used to take 10 minutes to start, because that radio was a diode controlled valve. Diode valve controlled the radio. So from that, after a few years, my father bought a radio which was of this size. And I was told this is a transistor. So that those days I didn't understand what is diode and what is transistor. But over the period of time, on the later day, I found that there is another thing called transistor. Later in my college days, my friends used to say IC, which was this big. So this is the transformation which you saw, and we all adapted to that transformation. It was not that they were new. Only thing is that, and nowadays we talk about microprocessor, or this electronics engineers, they call MUP. So microprocessor, which is this big, you can pick it on with a pinch of your finger. So this is how the transformation is taking place. Now, transformation doesn't actually intervene in the people. It is the machine and human interface, how it changes. Because the more transformation takes place, the more it becomes systematic. These things are all programmed things. So which means the defined process is already done. Earlier, what was done was people used to write processes in a piece of paper for every job they used to do. Now, once we have a system like what you said, that IoT and AI and ML. So if this, for artificial intelligence, we have to create a huge data bank. That is the human job, which is, and from that data bank, what all can be the solutions that we have to come down to. And from those solutions, we have to write the process that if this is the question, this is the answer. This is the question, this is the answer. All the what do you call, the processes are well defined. Now we human beings don't need to spend time for noting down the process or writing the process. That is readily available. They spend their time in putting down the process. What all process that should be adaptable to that. So the main difference which has taken place is the interface. That interface has changed because earlier the interface was mostly a human job which is done. Now a machine has come. Now how we interpret the machine, that is more important. The machine language we have to understand that, okay, this is the language of the machine. So we have to tell them in their language. It is, I don't think this is a very big thing because only thing is that one has to have his keenness, eagerness to learn. Which I told you sometimes back, that learning is the key thing for till we leave, we need to learn till our last date so that, there is nothing where I can get stuck. Once I keep on learning, my knowledge base, my database, it gradually started increasing. And finally, I think this is what the difference is that the approach of people has changed. Otherwise, I don't find there's much of change in the people. Because earlier, because of this, I can see that today's kid, they don't go out to play football or cricket. They are mostly spending time in mobile phones, laptops. So, because their interface is that machine. In our days, our interface was with a different area. So this is how the whole thing has changed. But other than that, it's at the end of the day, it's the human mind or a human brain which is creating what all things. So far and so long, people are in their proper shape. I don't find much of a difference in the whole process. Thank you.
Mr. Basu, thank you for sharing such amazing insights into different subjects. So this brings us to the last question of the session. We are building a community of industry magnates. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. So what are your thoughts about these initiatives taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Heval Mehta, and the team of World Development Corporation?
Look, to start with, I'll start with a bigger picture. Like, knowledge is something which one acquires over a period of time. In our various aspects, they gather knowledge. Now, once, like this Zoom, before this COVID, I never knew that I can interact with you over the laptop or over a camera and to a person, which I used to see on television only. Apart from television, nothing was there. So this is a enhancement of knowledge. So now knowledge, how one adapts to himself or herself is more important because knowledge is available in a certain template. I read it, I interpret it in my way, and I absorb it in my way. Then I implement it, and I find that whether it is right or wrong. If it is right, then I follow that process. If it is wrong, I make fine-tuning or changes and make it correct. And so then that particular knowledge becomes proprietorship to me. I have it in my way. I percolate it to or train to my people, others who are around me. So this knowledge sharing is the most important criteria in today's world. Because if I do not share my knowledge, if I do not percolate the knowledge to other people, it becomes very difficult for the new generation or the new people to come. So our Directors Institute is doing the same. They are percolating, they are distributing or circulating the knowledge within their framework, that this is what the knowledge is there. Because, earlier for this independent director role, there was no courses. People used to go and with various ways and means get into organization as independent. Now, Mr. Zishan Pathan and he has
Ableman.
Heval Mehta, sorry. They have rather made a streamlined process, that there is a area which is, it is not properly organized. So to get into that, this whole process is there. One has to undergo the training process. This is what the knowledge which they are actually parting to us. And with that knowledge, we have our basic knowledge, but to get into that port, it requires a special knowledge. That special knowledge we didn't have. That what all additionally I need to know. There are a lot of the course which I have gone through. There are so many things which I have learned for the first time. In fact, this is again a big learning process. I told you that I am avid in learning new things. I don't have, and I always take care that I have no shame in learning from younger people also. If there is something which I don't know, I can go and ask them that, okay, how you do? And in our organization, when I was mentoring, there are a lot of GETs come. What they do, in our days, we never talked about formula racing or NBA. So these kids today, they talk about those things. So now to interact with them, I had to learn those. No, the mentor has to speak the same language with the people who are working with. So to speak the same language, I found that these people in the free time, they talk about these. So then I started learning that. So that learning process has to be there. And it may not be his core subject, or may not be that there is an end. A lot of people say that I have, at this age, it is not important for me, or how can I learn new things? There is no age, or there is no time of learning. Till the last date a man lives, he has to learn. So this is what this particular subject, corporate governance, this is what there are a lot of subjects, there are a lot of topics which I haven't learned or haven't read ever, like mostly from the company secretary or the chartered accountants, which they learn in their course. But I have taken interest in that. Okay, this is a new subject. I have to keep my cool. I have to learn new things. And at this age, it takes a little bit longer time to understand and absorb a lot of new things. So I gave my time. I went through that, and I found it was very interesting, because if one person has to move to that board, that person has to learn these things apart from his basic knowledge. So to handle an organization, this is more important. So what Mr. Mehta and Mr. Pathan has been doing, they have been doing job fabulous, because this streamlining of this whole process is required. So I think this is thumbs up to both of them, which actually, I came across this institute over just a flyer from, I forgot where from. But after that, I started taking interest in that. Okay, this is another path for us at this stage of our career, that we can explore that, we can venture that, and we can move to it. So then I gradually understood what the whole process is. Then one day I attended one call over Zoom, and I understood the whole process, where Mr. Pathan and Mr. Mehta gave a detail of what so it actually attracted me. So I found that, okay, it's very interesting. So let me pursue that whole course. So once I started the course, I found it very enterprising. So at the end of the day, I think I have gained a lot of new things which I would have never been without going to this course.
Great. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that our insights will inspire future leaders. Thank you, Mr. Koushik Basu, for joining us today. Wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute has unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.